You know, you talked about Charlotte Flair, and as far as I know, your first match happened to be with WWE. How did
Yep.
that come about? Because that's insane.
Yeah. So I have my husband to thank for that as well. He
Shout
was
out to
doing,
Victor Benjamin.
yeah, real savage gent on social media, but he was doing an extra loop. He had, sent in his information, was accepted. And he said, just send your, like, fill out the recruit page and fill this or email this guy. And I was like, okay. And it was John Cone at the time. So I don't think he's doing this, so his email won't blow up. Hi, John. Um, so I was like, I'm not sending this in. Like, I'm not a wrestler. I was only managing, and I had like 3 months of wrestling training. So I was like, I'm not sending this stuff in. And he's like, just do it. You can come with me. So of course I did it because he told me to. And it was a Pittsburgh and Cleveland loop Monday, Tuesday, and I don't know if they just like didn't have a lot of females or like what the deal was. I didn't even have wrestling gear. I didn't have wrestling shoes. I had like Nikes on. I had a managing like one piece, and I always had like a lace duster on over it. So like it was a really high cut gimmick, and because I always had like the duster over it, and they pulled me out for this spot, and they told me like I couldn't wear what I had on because my butt was hanging out, so I had to wear someone else's underwear. That's a real story. Thanks Danny Moe for that.
Fantastic.
Yep. And then they said, hey, you're gonna have a promo, but don't worry, you can do it a few times if you need. It's gonna be pre-taped. And I said, okay. So they gave me this sheet of paper, and I think it was like an intern or something, and he came back in like 3 to 4 minutes. And he was like, did you look over that promo I gave you? And I said, yeah. And he's like, well, where's the paper? And I was like, in my locker room. And he said, did you memorize it? And I said, yeah. And he was like, can I hear it? And so I delivered it. He was like, what? 1 second, I'll be back. So he left. I don't know who he spoke to. I did not know the promo was going to be live on television then. So that was a shock. But yeah, the first match was against Asuka. Like I said, I wasn't a trained wrestler. I didn't have shoes. I didn't have gear. Like I had nothing. They were just like, go ahead. So I think at the time I was really like the only person ever that had debuted on television for their very first match ever, unless it was like Ronda Rousey or some celebrity, right?
Yeah.
Which was wild. Like AEW gives wrestlers that opportunity now. I know it's like a YouTube show. It might be different, or maybe they get a match on Dynamite. I'm not sure. But back then it was like a really big deal. So Twitter was going crazy. I didn't even know how to use Twitter, but yeah, it was a pretty cool moment.
It's truly insane in the best way, especially, now knowing where you've come in that time. So
Yeah.
how much you've evolved since then. How was it working with Asuka? Were you aware of how good she was at the time? Because obviously you knew she was a top act and everything, but you were still, I think at that point, how long were you really a fan? Like maybe a year?
Yeah, not even. But of course, I knew this was during her big push, Road to WrestleMania. She had been undefeated at the time. So yeah, I knew the magnitude of it. And she was fantastic. She was absolutely great.
Yeah. I've always seen nothing but positive
Yeah.
just feedback about her, and she just seems incredible. So it
Yeah.
was super cool that you did that. And at this point, you said you had maybe 3 months training. Were you just training with Victor, or were you training at like a specific school?
At the time, I was with, I did some manager training at IWC,